Hey y'all, welcome to the Flavor Fox. I'm here to put delicious looking recipes to the test so you don't have to. I'm your friend in the kitchen, just telling you like it is. So come on y'all, let's get cooking. You can find links to the recipe we're trying today, along with helpful ingredients and the kitchen stuff I use in the description of this video. This recipe has got me some kind of excited because I love me some Greek gyros. It comes from Half-Baked Harvest and is called sheet pan chicken gyros with feta tzatziki. The whole idea of using a sheet pan had me completely intrigued because I don't know about y'all, but my kitchen did not come outfitted with a vertical spit where I could just slow roast a beef and lamb mixed for my own at-home gyros. As we scroll through the recipe, we see the delicious image again, plus a close-up of the chicken that looks wonderful. Then there's an image of some fries that I didn't make and a description of the tzatziki sauce that's gonna have feta added to it. Interesting. Then, as you scroll down a bit further, there's a little history about gyros and how they're made, plus a great little TikTok video that shows how to make the recipe from start to finish. Looks simple enough, right y'all? Let's get cooking. You can see the recipe states the prep time is 30 minutes and cook time is 25 minutes, resulting in a total time from start to finish of 55 minutes. I did notice the number of servings and calories per serving seem way off, but I'm sure it's because that includes the fries. As I started the recipe, I realized that it called for 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts or thighs. My package of boneless, skinless chicken thighs was 3 pounds, so I just doubled all the ingredients to make a double batch. I mean, if it's that good, I'm gonna need a double batch, right? The ingredients list on this recipe called for cubed chicken. I don't know about y'all, but I don't pre-cube my chicken before I start cooking, so I include that in the prep time. I cut the chicken up into about 1 to 2 inch cubes. Then the recipe said to combine the chicken with the yogurt, olive oil, lemon juice, minced garlic, shallots, paprika, oregano, red pepper flakes. There wasn't any specific amount of red pepper flakes listed, so I just sprinkled it in on what I thought hubby and I would like. Salt and pepper. Again, the recipe assumed the garlic was already minced, the shallots were already diced, and the oregano was already chopped. I included that in my prep time, just like I'm sure y'all do when you're cooking after a long day. Mix, mix, mix. And unless you read the directions in advance, you'd be pretty surprised to find out it's supposed to marinate for 15 minutes to overnight. Well, I didn't read that part, so I did the 15 minutes. Then I preheated the oven to 425. Now again, this is why it's important to read the recipe all the way through before you start, because step 3 of the recipe says, meanwhile, you can make the tzatziki sauce. If you follow this recipe from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, you'd end up cooking the chicken completely before even starting the sauce. So while I waited for the oven to preheat, I started on the tzatziki sauce. The directions said to combine the feta, yogurt, garlic, and lemon juice in a blender until creamy. Simple enough. I used crumbled feta instead of chunk feta because that's all my grocery store had, but I didn't really see that that would cause much difference. I'm not sure if it came out exactly creamy. It looked more like compounded butter to me, honestly. But the next step was to add more yogurt and the cucumber. So maybe the water from the cucumber and the yogurt will make that creaminess we want. Now, at my grocery stores, I could not find Persian cucumbers. So I looked it up on the old internet and found that these English cucumbers are a good substitute. They're seedless, similarly mild, and they don't have bitter tasting skin. So that's what I used because that's what the grocery store had, and I'm not going to a specialty store just for cucumbers. The ingredients also mentioned that these cucumbers were supposed to be shredded. I am not interested in pulling out my KitchenAid mixer with the shredder attachment and making a big old mess. The instructions said to stir in the shredded cucumber along with the yogurt, so I figured I'd just put it all in the blender and let the blender do the chopping. Add a pinch of salt and red pepper, then blend. This looked a lot more like I would expect a tzatziki sauce to look, but it was a far cry from the thin one she showed in the TikTok video. It's pretty thick, which makes sense considering it's got feta in it. Now the chicken had been sitting marinating in the fridge for 15 minutes. The recipe didn't say to use foil to cover the sheet pan, but this was a weeknight, y'all, and I was not interested in scraping a pan clean. I'll note here the directions said to arrange the chicken on the sheet pan, but as I was looking in this bowl, it was really hard to tell the difference between chicken and shallots. So you'll see me get frustrated here trying to pick the chicken pieces out and eventually grabbing scoops of it. Then deciding, well, if I already have scoops of it with the sauce, why not just dump it in there and arrange the chicken thinly so that it'll cook. I placed it in the oven for 15 minutes and pulled it out to toss it like the directions said. Note the amount of juice coming off of this chicken at this point. Then the directions said to cook for an additional 5 to 10 minutes. Whenever that happens, I usually just split the difference, so I did 8 minutes. The directions said to make sure the chicken was cooked through before broiling to get to that crispy finish. You can see in this shot that the sheet pan is very juicy, lots of liquid on there. I went ahead and put it on the broiler on low for 2 minutes, and it came out with some of the pieces pretty crispy on top. I decided that was good enough since the chicken was already done and I was already over an hour in. Then the instructions say to plate it with a pita. My store didn't have all those extra large pitas she showed in the TikTok videos, so I used what was available. You'll see I put the chicken in a small dish, and it looks a whole lot more like a curry than the picture on the recipe. Then I take a moment here to show there was quite a bit of liquid in the bottom of the dish. As shown previously, the tzatziki was nowhere near as thin as the TikTok video showed. It's got a lot of feta in there, so it was probably pretty tasty. Then you can see what it looks like when it's plated. I had arugula, so I used that. Now for the verdict. On time, this one took me about 1 hour and 5 minutes to complete all the way through. It's probably because it didn't include prep time of ingredients or that additional 15-minute marinade session for the chicken. The instructions. These didn't specifically say to separate the chicken from the marinade ingredients before putting it in the oven. It was really hard to tell the difference between the chicken and shallots. In hindsight, the yogurt that was in the marinade is probably the cause of a lot of that liquid. But I don't know how you'd ever be able to pick through it and find only chicken. That would have added another 5 minutes just of picking. The look. The visual on the tzatziki sauce was not a pleasant consistency. Chunky is the best I could come up with, even though it had been run through the blender over and over. The look of this one really put my hubby off. He hates curry, and like I said, this one looked a lot like curry. And finally, the taste. The chicken by itself had a nice flavor. The red pepper gave it a really good pop without it being spicy hot. The feta added to the tzatziki sauce seemed chalky. I very much would have preferred just sprinkling that on top instead. I've seen multiple easy tzatziki sauces in recipes, and this one ain't it. The final verdict on this one is a Fox flop. While the chicken tasted pretty good, the instructions were a little ambiguous. It took longer than expected. My hubby couldn't even stand to eat it because of the weird textures and visuals. I guess I'll just have to keep looking for an easy gyro recipe, but when I find an option, I'll be sure to try it out and let y'all know how it goes. Don't y'all forget to check out the video description for links to this recipe, the ingredients, and even the kitchen stuff I use. Thanks for stopping by my kitchen. I hope next time we can find something foxy. See y'all next time.